All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What's up, everybody? We got us a Tuesday baseball slate. We got us some fun going on after we had, double Monday night football games last night. I got my man next to me, BJ. Looks like he's getting ready to go to the porn festival. So we're going to
next week, baby.
Well.
Next week.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to wish him well on that endeavor. And, hey, maybe he can tell us some cool stories. That's always fun. But, man, we got the Tigers rolling, got my shirt on. We came back. We're in the freaking playoff hunt, man. What a crazy thing for us people here in Detroit. I mean, we got the Lions. Michigan sucks. Michigan State sucks. But, man, BJ, I'll tell you what, feeling a little better. The ass is feeling better. I just got home. I went out to Arizona to see the Lions play. Stayed out at my cousin's house in Phoenix and went to the Lions game on, it seems like yesterday, but shit, it's not yesterday. But that was a lot of fun going out there. I'll tell you what, man, Detroit owned that Arizona stadium. There was a lot of blue in that crowd, that's for sure. Definitely fun. I went and took a piss, BJ, and I heard the crowd cheer, and I knew the Lions had the ball. And I was like, what happened? They pick it off, and the guy goes, no, Gibbs scored. I was like, dude, the crowd sounded like we were at a home game. Like it was kind of weird.
On the hook and ladder, too. That was cool.
Yeah, it was hot as fuck though out there, dude. I walked on the cement with my bare feet. Like you couldn't stay in one spot for 10 seconds or your feet were on fire. It was crazy. But I mean, hey, a lot of shit going on in Arizona. They got a lot of cranes out there, a lot of building going on. That's for sure. But man, a lot of fun. We got some baseball. We always talk about it, man. We're 3 weeks in now. We got some donkeys that are going to come with their football money today. So let's have us a nice little talk here, figure out what we're going to do, get up to the top. Looks like we got we lost that Tiger game, obviously. That is going on now. They moved up for weather, but it looks like we got a decent slate, some decent pitching, really. I mean, not really any high-end strikeout guys, but we got some middle-of-the-road strikeout guys. I mean, Valdez, I think, is probably going to be one of the better pitching plays, but he's really expensive. It's been pretty good his last few rounds. We got Bailey Ober sitting there we can look at here today, BJ. We got all kinds of fun we're going to talk about, but hey, real quick before we do so, got to bring BJ in here. What's going on, my friend? How was your week?
Oh man, it was a lot of fun, going through the the midlife crisis right now. Turned 30, had a blast over the weekend, got to watch some football. Baseball was kind of meh through the weekend. We know those prize pools kind of go down, when there's football playing, but after a tough beat last night, we're coming in with some vengeance. We're ready to destroy these next couple of slates today and tomorrow before those prize pools sneak back down. But hey, yeah, I know the stash isn't getting there. We're going to let it rock, though. We got playoff baseball starting next week. Padres, big series the next couple of days versus the Dodgers, 3 games back with their kind of battered pitching lineup that they're throwing out nowadays. Like you was talking about, I think they had a sub 2% chance of making the playoffs. Now they're almost a 70. Maybe it's more now, but let's go, man. I'm jacked up. After the game last night for football, I just thought, man, dude, baseball people do not want what's coming the next couple of days. So let's have a good show, and we're definitely going to find some winners today.
Man, BJ is got a couple people cracking up. Midlife crisis. Get the fuck out of here. He don't know. He's 30 years old, everybody. He don't know what damn midlife crisis is. Man, shit. When I was 30, I didn't even have a damn cell phone. They weren't even out yet. But either way, man, 30. You got it made. I wish I was 30. But either way, wait till you start getting 40. You can still do shit and nothing hurts. I get out and take the garbage can out. My arm hurts the next day from pulling that fucker. It's man, what the hell? You just do shit. I slipped in the pool. I was like, oh, somebody kicked me. So what happened? I get a fight yesterday. I'm like, oh yeah, I slipped while I was drinking. It's just stupid little things get you. But man, the midlife crisis when you're married, you got kids, and then they drive you fucking nuts. You get divorced. You want to kill everybody. That's the midlife crisis. You know what? Your little showdown beat or 2-gamer beat. I know that shit sucks. we've been playing DFS, all of us. We know that happens. That just sucks balls, but does keep you motivated. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But man, when they're got you like this, and you're smelling that money, and then they say nope, you're just like fuck. Like that shit happens all the damn time, BJ, and them things. Showdown's a tough, man. Showdown's tough. Like we were just talking, like your quarterback could drop back and kneel on it 6-7 yards, and you're like, you all of a sudden you drop 3 spots. It's like, dude.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was telling my lady. I was like, hey, you take the beat, and like an hour later, she's like, you okay? Because we started, we're watching a show. It's like, you okay? I was like, oh yeah, no, because it's so funny. It's just like poker, right? You take these tough beats. DFS is much worse in my opinion, but you become so like immune that you're just like pissed off to like go back the next day. Like you're not mad at the situation. You're more like motivated, like what you said. So we're dialed in, boys. Let's rock.
I'll tell you what used to make me more upset than anything, BJ. It's like a baseball. Like you're trying to decide between 2 pitchers, or you think you got, 3/4 of your lineup down, and you're like, I don't know about this 2v2 or 3v3, like what would you do? And I'll ask a couple friends. I realized just throw another $100 on that lineup. You know what I mean? Because that's, if you're right and you're wrong or whatever way, if it works out, your lineup's pretty much so much the same. Like it may put you over the top. So there's a few times I'm like, dude, I just throw another 100 on it and throw in something else or 200, whatever, like maybe a quarter or 20% what you got. Cause it ain't worth the aggravation. Cause you know what it is. The first fucking guy you take out of your lineup, he's the first dude to hit a home run in the whole slate. It's guaranteed. If I take out Willie Castro today out of my lineup, out of that 9-hole, he's going to be the first jerk to hit a home run today. It's almost guaranteed. Like, that's just the way it happens. But, man, let's say hi real quick, everybody. We got in the chat. We got Go Collect, Pojen Stoner, Greg, Jason Turner. We got Good Gator Nation. We got Keith Vape in the house. Greg, as I mentioned, Devin Davis, all kinds of guys. Justin Sports and Minnesota Holler in here. Glad you guys are all here with us, talking some baseball. A lot of fun time of the year, but it is a tricky time of the year. Now we got to think about a few things here in these next few weeks. In this next 9 week and a half here. I mean, 9 days, 6 days, right? 7. So we got 7, 6, 7. So it's the last week. There's going to be certain dudes, the pitchers, you can't count on the 100 pitches. Like you got to look for meaningful games. So that kind of sucks. There's going to be all kinds of pinch hitting going on. It's like the last week it can be tough. Like let's try to stick to games that have some meaning here today. So, that's why I like a guy like Valdez. I mean, I like Valdez, Bailey Ober. I like Bailey Ober. Those are guys that are in games that are meaningful. So that is going to be a difference. And teams that are in it are going to be quick to pinch hit, quick to pull out, certain guys. So they're going to play matchup games. So it's kind of some tricky navigating we're going to do here. We'll do our best to help everybody out. That is for sure. But, man, we got an interesting one here today that we're going to look at here, BJ. But just looking at the pitching as we usually start with, I mean, we got a handful of guys at the top, and I mean, and I just sitting here looking at like really not a strong, huge strikeout arm, really that, I feel like, man, you got to have this guy. It's not like a Scooble or somebody's out there. So I think we got some like B+, A- kind of guys going here. I mean, you look at all the way down on the K rate, you got a couple guys at 27%, King at 28%. You got a lot of guys in the mid 20s. So I think I'm going to be looking at some matchups today and games that do matter. As I mentioned, Valdez, they can clinch that division out there. And then you got Gilbert, they're not really going for anything. Ober needs the win there against the Mets. So, I mean, and then you kind of look at too, you got, White Sox opportunities, teams that we like to attack. So I'm just kind of sticking my lane that we've been doing the whole year. But man, just kind of looking at these top guys, I think Ober stands out. Valdez stands out. I mean, Gilbert, a matchup against the Astros. I'm really not a fan of his strikeout upside. Schwallenbach against the Mets, 26% K rate. That one may be interesting. Brandon Path against the Giants, I think, could be interesting because of their high strikeout rate. But Path's one of them Buster Boom kind of guys. Definitely a great tournament type play. Evaldi worries me a little bit. I don't know, man. He just does scare me a little bit. Logan Webb, as I mentioned, King, Francis, Brian Bello, Clark Schmidt. We got a handful of decent pitchers out here today, BJ. I mean, I got Valdez and Ober at the top. I think they're going to be the two most popular. I think Ober, especially on DraftKings, is going to be pretty popular because it's kind of cheap over there. But man, I don't know how you breaking down this top range here. What are you thinking?
I think you said the top half perfect. I think Ober is the clear chalk. Great matchup. He must win spot. Went for 12 strikeouts last time out. Valdez falls into that category. I know what you're thinking when you look at his 24% strikeout rate, but I mean, over the last handful of starts, I mean, he's above 30% strikeout rate. He's 60% ground ball rate against this Mariners team that we know can strike out. So, I think those two are the clear above the 8K range. And then, like what you said, it just becomes a whole bunch of matchup-based stuff, in my opinion. I don't want to touch, as much as I, hate it because Padres in a must-win spot. I'm not touching King versus the Dodgers. I don't want to touch Logan Webb. He's not really in play anyways, but I'm not going to touch him. And then we find ourselves in a weird spot after you take those guys out. You get 20%-ish ownership on a few of these guys. Swallenbach's going to be there. Paff, like what you said. Eovaldi's going to garner some ownership. Francis is even going to get some ownership from the Red Sox. So, I'm, like I underlined on this top half on my notes down here, like what you kind of alluded to, just keep it simple, and what is simple? There's a ton of games, so ownership will be a little bit more spread and not so concentrated on some of these guys. I know it's chalk. How do you get away from, a matchup with the Marlins, coming off a 12 strikeout game? How do you get off of Valdez, aside from Price in such a great spot? And how do you get away from a Swallenbach? I think people are going to fall into the trap there of his strikeout rate over the last 5 or so games coming down. But, I wrote it down here. It's 2 matchups with Philly, one with the Dodgers, one with the Blue Jays, and one with the Twins. Like, those are teams we're not trying to target necessarily for those strikeouts, obviously. So, if we went down from the top, Valdez is going to line up number 2. Ober is going to line up Ober will be number 1, Valdez number 2. And then it becomes kind of a mix. I like Eovaldi a little bit more because if he can stay away from some of that power that's going to get minimized inside that ballpark in Oakland, I think he's going to be a good play. And at almost 25% ownership, I'm thinking on this slate, he might be tough to kind of get away from at such a small price. His price is the cheapest aside from one start in his last 15 starts or whatever, leading back to June. We don't see his price down this low. So he's going to be right there in the mix. And I want to say I want to get off of Francis, but if you can get through a couple of these scary left-handed bats, really highlighting Duran, he's in a pretty good spot too with his strikeout rate. So kind of a tough, mess that we have here. I'm going to keep it simple at the top. And then as I make more lineups, kind of mix in some of these guys that we've talked about, but please talk me off of it if you disagree, but it's tough to get off of a must-win start versus the Marlins and Ober.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just going to, like I said, I want to be in games that are meaningful, especially with my pitching. That's something I think is important. We look at the game, all 10 games across the board, which I generally like to. We got a game total at 10.5. That's the Rockies game out there in Coors. And then we got 7 games in the 8s, and then 6 games in the 8s. Most of them were in the 8s. We only had 3 in the 7s, and those are the popular pitchers, really, today that you're going to sit and look at. We got that 7 game, the low total. We got Gilbert against Valdez. Eovaldi's in one there with Oakland at 7.5, and then we got Swallenbach here against the Mets in that game at 7.5. I think Schwallenbach's interesting, but I was just looking his last month. His strikeout rate's down a little bit. It's just I like it. I think I liked it more until I started kind of digging into it a little bit. But I think I like him more than Eovaldi. Now, I will say I was reading around today, heard some things. I saw a couple people just talking about how many innings Eovaldi has thrown this year. And, they may wind him down a little bit. And, you just kind of worry about that in this last week of the season. That's what I mean about games that are kind of meaningful here. So, you got to remember the rosters are deeper too. They got more guys in the bullpen. So it does concern me a little bit with them. But I think like Paft, Paft, I like to call him whatever. That guy I think is interesting too today because, the Giants do have, the strikeout ability, but what just worries me about Paft is, I mean, that dude's like just a ticking time bomb, man. Some days he's great. I mean, some of the starts you look at is like last, 40? And then I think the day I played him, he had -18, some bitch. And then, he's got 5, and then he's got a 25, and then he gets a 5, and he's got a 29. So it's like a couple bad starts. He has a fabulous start. So he scares me a little bit. The Giants do have a little bit of power there, but, we are in Arizona too. We're not in San Francisco. I mean, but I do like him today. I think that's a great tournament play. That is what you describe as the tournament play to me. So I think that's interesting. But, here above, AK, I think, kind of going from the bottom. Paft, I think, is interesting. Francis, I'm not going there against Toronto here, against Boston. Webb, I don't want nothing to do with Arizona, so I'll just skip on that one. Ober, like you mentioned. Valdi, I have a little concerns. I mean, he's a decent play. I just, for some reason, my guts is telling me to kind of stay away. Schwallenbach, I think, is interesting too. Good tournament play. And then, you got Valdez, Gilbert. So, Valdez is interesting. I think Valdez would be my cash game if I just wanted to make sure I had a good pitcher. The dude's game log is just 21, 20, 30, 27, 18, 35, 30. I mean, he's been spot on. He's been pitching great here the second half of the season. Meaningful game for him. I mean, who doesn't want to get the win when you clinch the division? So I think, Valdez got to be, I would assume at this point, if the Tigers were to play the Astros in a 1-game, I think Valdez probably be the starter. So, they can maybe – that's kind of scares me too. What do they yank him a little early if they're winning to give him a little rest to, set him up for a next start? Like, that kind of stuff is kind of just goes through my mind as thinking, what are some things that could just totally derail my team today? So I think that's something too, but I got up at top. I'm just going to go Valdez. Actually, I'm going to go Ober 1, Valdez 2, and then I'm going to go Schwallenbach, and then I'm going to go Paft in my top 4, or my top above 8K.
Yeah, so I agree with the first two, putting Valdez second behind Bailey, but then we get a little bit different. I mean, Schwallenbach, like, what we talked about, I'm going to kind of throw out his recent strikeout rate because of matchups versus teams that aren't striking out as much and are pretty powerful. Paft, I agree with you 1,000,000%. I mean, he's got 10, 11, 12 strikeouts in 3 starts. And the other 3 starts, he has 8, 8, and 4 earned runs. So it's the definition of a GPP kind of multi-entering pitcher. The only part that concerns me is on DraftKings. I mean, I think he's at around the 20% roster mark. Like what I've seen around the industry, he's, almost 24, 25% owned. And at that price or at that level of ownership at such a GPP play, I'll have a little exposure, but I think I'm going to get away from him most of the time. So Ober, Valdez, Schwallenbach, and then I think Eovaldi's a little bit closer for me just because of price, matchup, park. And I understand your concerns. Maybe they shut him down, but what does that realistically mean? 1 inning, so if he goes out there and has a good start, in my mind, I don't think that'll be like pull him after 5. I think they'll let him get to 6. And I think at that price, when we look at some of these other pitchers, I'm going to be okay with that.
Yeah. I think it's a decent pitching slate overall. I mean, we got a couple guys we'll talk about here at the bottom too, but I mean, you really can't fault you. I mean, any of them guys really above 8K. I mean, I think you could make a decent argument for. There's some others have a little bit more red flags than either the matchup or, whatever else. So that's what I'm just trying to eliminate what I was looking at there. But Cam the man here says that's why I like Paft more than Francis. Meaningful game and strikeout rate versus right-handed pitching. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what you want. You want a meaningful game where a guy's going to have to pitch. I do like the strikeout rate. But, obviously he's had some bad starts. So, I mean, is he going to be on or is he going to be off? That's just the risk you take with me. I mean, it's like a 50-50 risk too. I mean, it's not even like it's 1 start out of 4 or 5. It's like literally almost 2 out of 3, if not bad. Like, so it is kind of a little scarier than normal. But below 8K, I mean, you look at, you got Schmidt against Baltimore. I'm not really sure how I feel about that. And then we got Brian Bello, Severino, Knack, I don't want no part of. Kramer's probably in a bad spot. Cannon, hell no. I think this Gonchowicz or whatever you want to say that guy's name. I'm not good with last names. I think
we'll call him Jack K. Jack K
we'll
makes
call him
it easy.
JK. We'll call him JK. So JK against the White Sox. I mean, obviously anybody against the White Sox. You got Feltner down there that against St. Louis sometimes isn't bad. You got McGarry, McGreevy, Weathers. I don't know. I don't see much down here at the in the bottom part that's really that I think that I could look at here. I mean, I guess Mitch Spence probably would be one of the better ones, but he's just got such a high ground ball rate on both sides. I don't know. I mean, I think it's risky. I mean, you could maybe look at Feltner if you wanted to. He has had. I mean, you look at his game log for a $5,500 pitcher. He's 16 points, 17 points, 24 points his last 3 starts. So I mean, ain't so bad really if you're going to get 17 to 20 out of a $5,500 pitcher. Obviously, it's not the most ideal park, but I mean, I can't argue with you if you want to pay up for some bats today or if there's something you really like. So I think there's a couple guys down here you could use. Is there any that stand out to you here that you can talk me into?
Yeah, as far as I haven't looked at FanDuel. I majority play on DraftKings, but Spence getting no love at 6,300. At home, I know the ground ball rate is high, and I know we have some options up top. But they're all $2,000 more expensive on the DraftKings side. I know the ground ball rate, like I said, is there, but we could see a lineup with zero power. For this Rangers side. And if that's the case, 6,300, they open up a lot. We'll get to Coors. It's kind of that whole, me, I'm always talking about first game in Coors and they're really cheap. So I won't be stacking, but I'll get some pieces. But that opens up lineups. Like you said, Feltner, 5,500, he's getting no love as well. And like I said, I know there's 10 games. I know there's a bunch of people in great spots. But like what you said, he's been pretty serviceable. And at 5,500, if he gets you 16, 17 points, it's the same as putting a nice priced outfielder in there for the same price. And he hits a home run, maybe a 2-run shot. He gets you the 16. It just, we're all kind of dependent on how we make lineups. But for me at this range, I don't want to touch anybody like what you said, except for Spence is my clear number 1. And Schmidt, I don't mind Schmidt just under 8K. He's a little reverse splitsy, but 31% strikeout rate to the left-handed side. I know this is a powerful team with Baltimore, but watching them and rostering them over the last couple weeks, they don't look like they're clicking. And I know they've kind of played a little bit better over the last couple of days, but doesn't scare me. At just under 8K, he's got some extreme upside. I know we have the short porch, but he'll make it in GPP builds for me. But aside from that, that's pretty much it. You can make a case for this Jack K guy. 4% walk rate. I know he's only striking out, batters at a 10% clip, but when you include price and matchup, same thing we're going to talk about with Feltner. Maybe he goes out there and shuts down, gets a couple extra strikeouts than he's used to, and has a really good, 5-6 inning outing and gets you that 14 to 18 points. I think at 6K, it's pretty serviceable.
Yeah, I think Feltner is definitely in play today. Pojen Stoner is saying Severino versus the Braves lefties, good, bad, indifferent. I mean, you look at his strikeout percentage. He strikes out lefties 19.8%, 22.3%. on the season. So, I mean, the Braves are really going to pretty much throw out Harris, Albies, and Olsen, I would say would be the lefties, probably the top half of that lineup. I mean, Severino is pretty much a ground ball pitcher, 45% to the left, 48% to the right. He does give up more fly balls to the left at 28.7%. I start to worry when it's around like 30% on fly balls for hitters and pitchers. For me, is kind of like the number I kind of like to use in my own mind. Whether or not it's you're a fly ball or ground ball type pitcher. So, I mean, Severino, you look at his game log, it ain't been bad, really. I mean, he's not been bad. 21, 15, 24, 23. You're paying 7,500. I just think you're kind of limited on the upside, really, is what for me. I think there's a couple other guys there within that price range that, a little bit more where you might have Paf, I think's got a little better strikeout matchup, but I mean, I think it's a little bit more risky. I guess Severino would be somebody that I think is a risky tournament play. I just don't think he's going to get you, the points you're really hunting on. I mean, at 7,500, it's just the Braves too, right? Like, I don't know. I think it's there, but it's I think it's a little bit more risky. But hey, I mean, that's what we're doing here. We're gambling, right? So either way. But we got 10 games here all across the slate here. Little bit of weather we're going to have to be concerned about from what they're saying. So New York, Atlanta, looks like there could be some pops-ups. They're talking about maybe here in the White Sox game, a little bit of rain beforehand. But, I don't think there's much else. Yeah, that's about it, really. So,
hey, real quick, I want to touch two things that's on chat. First is we have this here. I would agree. I think Paft for sure has the highest ceiling on the slate. If he has one of those games versus that lineup, I believe he for sure, is in contention, but Schmidt isn't far behind, I mean, like I said, the Orioles haven't, been playing the best baseball. I know we have a short porch, in Yankee Stadium. But that's going to bring ownership down. So, just from that talking about, yes, we get ownership, significantly difference, and the ceiling is the opposite. So that's a true tough decision. It kind of depends on how you want to play, right? If you want to fade the public and be totally different and hope that Path has one of those tough games. But the question I wanted to ask you, because I definitely have a take, is this, 20 max, are you going to be more condensed at pitcher, or are you going to spread around with ownership? I know this question's kind of for today, but do you have just a general take on that before we hop into bats?
Condensed. I think I'd probably have 5 or 6 guys, and that's it. If I was playing 20 max, I wouldn't go too far out of, I might throw in. I think I wouldn't go too far out of between Valdez, Schwellenbach, Ober, Paft, and then maybe pick a low price guy that you're happy with, like a Feltner or JK. Or, Spence, somebody like that, Severino, if you wanted to go there. I think I would just be I think I'd be a little tighter with my pitching today, because you look at the bats today, you got Coors Field, and then I think Minnesota bats are going to kind of be popular. So I think you're going to see a lot of ownership on those 3 teams, or 2 teams especially. So, I think I'd stay more condensed. I don't know about you, but I don't like to spread myself out thin too much at pitching, because I just feel like, especially on DraftKings, because you got to hit 2 of them, right? You got to get 2 right. So, if you got 6 guys and, 2 or half of them take a shit, you might as well, you're just totally screwed. But, if I feel like you spread it out too much, you're not getting too much of it. You're spreading it. You're only going to have 2 or 3 lineups that are going to be in place. So you keep it condensed. You might have 7, 8 lineups that have good pitch, the nut pitching. So it just depends really what you do. But I think today, in my opinion, I'd stay tighter with pitching.
Yeah, I would agree. I like just taking a stance, right? Like you said earlier, we're still gambling here, and we know it's a skill game. But for me, I want to pick either side. I think this is a day-to-day where we're going to get into some different bats that, we can kind of spread. So if that's the case, I want to have a smaller pitching pool, just because, like you said, if you drill the pitching, now you have outs. At multiple different opportunities. On some slates, the opposite. Maybe I want to spread a pitching because I really like 2 or 3 stacks, but I would agree.
I mean, if Clark Schmidt was pitching any damn better than he was before, you sit and look at his reverse split, 31% the lefties. The Orioles are going to be rolling some out of there today, you would think, but dude, you look at his game log, just has not been very good. So, 17, 15, 11, 17, 15, his last 5 starts. He just 7, 5, 2, 6, 6. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's just, it looks good, but I don't know, man. It's just not very good at all, actually. So it's like one of them. It's like being on one of them dating sites. The picture looks good, and then when you see her in real life, it's like, But either way, but hey, let's get through some of these games here. We got 10 big games here we got going on tonight. But as we mentioned, we got a good one right out the bat. Baltimore and the Spankies. We to Kramer against Schmidt. Just sitting here looking at Kramer, man, the guy's he's got beat up a little bit. It's got a fly ball lean here too. 29% to lefties, 28% to righties. Strikeout percentage, low 20%. We already know about the Yankees bombers here. So I think the Yankees are probably up there in the stack rankings for me. I'd say up there in the top, probably 5 for me. So, I think the Yankees are definitely interesting here. I think I like the top of it a little bit more, but the lefties, I think Soto and Jazz are thinking interesting spots. Wells even too at that 4 spot. So maybe some of these lefties on the Spankies. I mentioned earlier, Schmidt kind of reversed splitsy here, 31% strikeout to the left side. His fly ball rate is higher, 29% to the left side as well. So 40% ground ball rate to the left side. I mean, so take it as it is. Orioles haven't been hitting all that great here. Game total 8.5. It's what, the third highest total on the slate, tied for third or second, I should say, just under that Coors game. But I think I prefer the Yankees side here, especially some of these lefties.
Yeah, I would agree. Highlighting Soto and Wells, really, like for me, I mean, Judge, he's expensive. So if I get to those 2 guys, I'll take a stand there. And kind of build out this, but I'll definitely throw them in as a top 5 stack as we kind of get going. We don't see very many other teams that excite you for a full stack. I think you could go 1 through 6 here, really. Like you said, Jazz is expensive at third base and he's batting in the 6 hole, so he'll get no ownership. I love that call. And then as far as the Baltimore side goes, I think I might respect Schmidt a little too much in this matchup the more I'm looking at it. It's a 3.8 projected total. The Yankees are heavy favorites. When I see those game logs, what you talked about, yeah, it's not great, to roster, but it's not very, fun to stack against. So, I mean, you could pick out, a couple of, maybe these righties, if you will, like you said, because it's such a high strikeout to the left-handed side. But I'm all Yankees here in this game and really focusing on Soto and Wells.
Yeah, Kramer's a decent pitcher here, but I think the lefties here that, the Yankees are going to roll out definitely are interesting. I mean, Jazz, I think, is interesting. I just wish he hit a little higher up in the lineup. But, yeah, I think he's in a pretty good spot here today. But moving on to the next game, we got Boston and Toronto sitting at 8. We got Brian Bello against Bowden Francis. I mean, Francis, not too bad. It's a low strikeout rate to the lefties, 16%, 27.5% to the right side. I mean, the lefties here from the Red Sox are definitely going to be interesting. Obviously, we wish Devers was in there, but man, Jaron Duran, dude's just a double machine. Casas, I think, is interesting. Yoshida, Abreu. I mean, they got some lefties here that, I do think is a little bit interesting, but, I can't say I got it up there in my top stacks. I think maybe some one-offs maybe to look at. I think could be something you could do here. But Toronto, I'm not really interested in attacking Bello either here. I just think this one's just, I kind of respect both pitchers. Don't really want to stack against either one.
Yeah, I'll highlight like what you said, the Boston lefties. More of a mini for me, though. I mean, Duran just absolutely destroys right-handed pitching. The part that scares me is that, you kind of want to mix in maybe like all 3 lefties and make your decision if you want to add a 4th, depending on how many lineups. Yoshida, he'll just get pitch him for. So like that's what's pretty, different to me. I was watching the Red Sox broadcast like a week ago, and they were so surprised that he got a bat, versus the left-handed side. And then you kind of look into it more and he just doesn't get those bats. So, he'll, if they kind of get after him a little bit, and Francis gets pulled, anticipate, especially in a tight spot for Yoshida to get pulled. But lefties here with Casas and Duran, and maybe you mix in like a Tyler O'Neill for a little sneaky 3-man. But they just won't get any ownership. I mean, Francis is going to be in the 20s, and it's a good spot in people's eyes. So I would agree, outside of them just kind of minis and attacking, maybe hitting the right bomb or Duran with the bomb in a bag. I'm kind of staying away from all bats in this game.
Yeah, I agree with you there. That's for sure. I respect both pitchers enough to just stay away. But the good thing we got a handful of other games here on the slate. So we got the Mets and Atlanta game. The game total sitting at 7.5. We got Severino here against Schwallenbach. Man, I can't say that I'm interested in any of the Mets here. I do respect Schwallenbach, especially slight ground ball lean, 42% to righty, 40% to lefties. K percentage pretty high to righties, 31% there. I mean, we're only looking at Nemo and Winker that they're going to be able to roll out there today from the left side. So he's going to pretty much get a right-handed side here, which, Schwallenbach, like I mentioned, I was interested in. The Atlanta bats here against Severino. I respect Severino enough, especially his ground ball lean. I just leave that alone. If I did, I would go some lefties on the left side, as I mentioned earlier, with his lower strikeout rate, higher fly ball rate to the left side. But I do respect that one here. We got a low game total 7.5. Atlanta used to be fun to stack, just not going there right now. And we look at the Atlanta Braves in the last 15 days. They're actually second in OPS in all of baseball, too. So they've actually been hitting pretty well. But I just don't see a reason to go there here against Severino.
Yeah, if you're trying to make something happen, like what you said, they're swinging the bat great. You can always play Ozuna. Matt Olson's been heating up. So I don't mind, kind of minis. Like for me today, let's say I'm making 10 lineups, 5 lineups. I'll maybe have a little exposure to a mini somewhere, but no full stacks. And for the Mets, same exact thing. He only gets 2 lefties. He's striking out almost 30% to the right-handed side. There's a reason why they're kind of unowned, and I'm going to follow the field. So a couple games in a row where we don't have much exposure, but on a 10-game slate, I like crossing games off completely. I don't mind any of these guys really being like a filler, last guy in, whatever it may be from the Braves side, but nobody on the Mets side.
Yeah, I got to agree with you there. But the next one I think is interesting here that we got the chalkier game here that I think a lot of people are going to go to, the Twins against Ryan Weathers, who I was just looking at his game log. 5 earned runs, 2, 4, his last 3 starts. Been getting beat up quite a bit. Dude, 4 innings, 2 innings, 6 innings, 6 innings. So I guess what I'm getting at, the 2 and 4 innings. Now, let's look at that Twins lineup. Margot and Farmer. My opinion, stay away. They need to hit a home run their first 2 at-bats. They're going to be bringing in some lefties. Margot be lucky to get 2 at-bats probably. If Feltner goes 3 or 4 innings, Weathers gets 3 or 4 innings, you're not going to see Margot and Farmer. You're not going to see them really get. Jeffers, I think, is in jeopardy. Miranda could get pinch hit for. I think the only ones really safe is Correa, Buxton, Santana, Lewis, and maybe Castro, obviously, because he's a switch. But I think there's a couple guys there we got to be paying attention to. I think some Twins are going to get some love. Let's let everybody else play the Farmers and the Margots. If they hit a homer and they get us in the first 2 at-bats, so be it. I don't think they're getting more than 3 at-bats here. So definitely something to pay attention to with these Twins. Definitely interesting spot. As we mentioned, Weathers has been getting beat up a little bit here recent times. Miami, on the other hand, against Bailey Ober, not really interested. If you wanted to look at, potentially anybody for some leverage on that side, I think that this is a pretty good spot for that, because I think Ober is going to be pretty popular, especially if you go over there on DraftKings with his price the way it is. I think he'll be pretty popular. This Miami lineup, Ober, 26%, ground ball rates are 36 to right, 31 to left, fly ball rates 35 to the left and to the right side. He's given up some fly balls. If you want to look at, somebody with some power, maybe somebody like Norby, Jake Berger. I just can't do it. But if you wanted a one-off, I don't think that's a bad place to look just because of the fly balls that Ober gives up. So definitely something. But hey, let that Twins line up. Let's not get sucked in the Farmer and Margot, because I think that could be some trouble.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about the Twins first. I agree. It's really just Norby, Sanchez, and Berger for me. I feel as if I'm in that range, I'm not playing, Bailey in some of these lineups, because I'm making multiple. I don't mind getting a $3,300 Sanchez, with that can hit a bomb and is batting in the 3-hole. I don't mind that at all, just because of price. But jumping over to this Twin side, you nailed the nail on the head. We find ourselves in such a spot where they're popular, and the prices on Margot and Farmer, $2,200 and $2,300 on DraftKings, they're gonna be popular. So here's my question, to you is like, obviously it's 2, 3, 4, 5, right? With everybody that you spoke about, and the prices aren't super expensive. So that's part of the reason why they're popular. What is the number of points that you would accept from a Margot or a Farmer? I know they're popular, but
for me, they have to hit a homer. I don't care if they're 2,200 or not. For me, I need a home run out of one of them too. At least 10. And you got to get that in 2 at bats. So, chances are. So to me, it's just double risky, really. They can. We got a pitcher that we don't really fear as much. But, I mean, we just got to be aware of what we're doing here. Yeah, the prices are cheap. People are going to see, oh, dude, Marco's in the one hole. He's cheap as hell. You know, like that. No, that because, you know, the first guy coming off that damn bench, as soon as they bring in a righty is you know, going to be a lefty and he's going to be out. So, and that sitting up at the top, I mean, you're almost probably in a game you're going to win. You should expect 5 at-bats out of that one hole. So I would guess the guy who comes in after Margot there, he might get 3 of the 5 at-bats possibly. So, you know, that's something, you know, definitely going to want to think about. But, yeah, this Twins lineup definitely in a good spot. In a game we talked about, they need to win. That Marlins bullpen sucks. So I think the Twins are in a pretty good
I'm
spot.
sorry to interrupt. I think they only have like 2 lefties in that bullpen. I might be 1. So I think this is like what you're saying, just to double down on it. I mean, it's a no-brainer. We could see 5 pinch hits in this game. Yeah.
Yep. That definitely can. I mean, it's gonna happen. Farmer and Margot are coming up. They won't. If they finish the game, I'll literally be shocked. But I don't see it happening. I was just curious, wanting to check. What's up, Tigers? My Tigers won 2-1. Woo woo. That's what we're talking about. Highest team in baseball, boys and girls. They just brought up Jackson Jobe. Matter of fact, I got a 10 rookie right here, 1/100 signed by Jackson Jobe. Graded at 10. So hopefully that guy, top pitching prospect in baseball, dude throws at 100 miles an hour. So we're going to see. And he's like 20, something like that. Dude just throws zingers. So kind of excited about that. What's going on here in Detroit with some baseball. Nothing better than sitting out in the fall, out in the garage, just listening to a baseball game. I don't even like to watch it, BJ. I just like to listen to it and just putz and do other shit. And just like to listen to the game, you know, and the announcer gets excited. You hear it and you're waiting to go, what was that? What is it? You're like, oh, yeah. You know, that's what's great, man. It just reminds me of being out in the yard with like my dad and my grandpa when I was little and you're listening. You know, for me, it was Ernie Harwell out here in Detroit. You know, like I could fall asleep to that dude's voice, man, because it was just, you know, the voice that I heard my whole damn life. But yeah, love baseball this time of the year. Great time of year for some baseball, except if you like to play DFS, because, man, it's some tough seas sometime navigating through all this shit, 40-man rosters, end of the year, all that fun stuff. But, man, the playoffs here will be next week. And the first week or two of DFS playoffs usually pretty fun, too, when you get, you know, a couple of them games throughout the day spread out. Man, it's a lot of fun. I love it, man.
That's great. What I was going to say. Those are some of my favorite slates because they did that on NBA, right? For like Christmas Day. And then, you know, on Thanksgiving to do for football. Those are the most fun. And, you know, in those, I tend to do fewer lineups, obviously, just because you spend so much time trying to swap in some of these contests. You have a chance. So, no, you nailed it, man. And it's funny you talk about the radio. Tonight I woke up and where I'm at is inside of Dodgers TV area. Right. And so I'm a YouTube TV guy, so I could get the NFL package and the 4 screens at home. So I have MLB TV, Padres game, right? So I get all the Padres games, but they black it out because we're in LA. It's not on the nation's the TV, the YouTube TV because of how we don't have Spectrum attached to that. So I'm listening to these next 3 games on the radio. I'm going to have to get in the mode for that. So I'm going back to your old school ways that you like so much over the next 3 days. So I can't wait.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, I like here, Michael W. Cool to see Tigers. Hey, youngest team in baseball. So, man, we just got to add a bat or 2 maybe next year. Watch out. Maybe another arm. Tigers, I think, will be in play here the next few years. That's for sure. I think they're becoming America's team just with that comeback too here. JB Hughes, hey, welcome. Here, JB says, I'm in Belleville next to Detroit. I'm not too far from you. I live by Hines Park. So not all that far. So, hey, we got a couple more games here. List to burn through. Of course, we got here the worst team in all of baseball, the 2003 Detroit Tigers with 120 losses. Thank you, White Sox, for taking them off that pedestal. And you're absolutely probably going to crush that here. Probably might even get to 125, which is just terrible. We know the White Sox bullpen sucks. Cannon, I mean, he's not all that bad. I mean, probably one of their better pitchers. Not really a strikeout guy. Low strikeout rate. Fly ball rate isn't too high, 25, 23%. Ground ball rates right around just below 40%. I mean, he's just a whole hum guy here. Just kind of sitting here looking at some of these Angels. This Angel stack is pretty cheap. So I think that is definitely something that I'm sitting here looking at. I mean, Ward, Drury, Schnetto. I mean, the names just don't pop out at you, right? But you're sitting here thinking, it is the White Sox. They do suck. That bullpen sucks. Do you want to maybe go after a guy like Moniak, somebody like that. So I think it's in play today. They're not pretty names, as I mentioned, to click on, but they're fairly cheap. I think it's interesting. I don't think I have any interest in the White Sox here, but man, I think you could talk me into some Angels, man. It just almost makes you want to throw up when you click these names, though.
Yeah, it feels good, though, when you kind of mix those with some stud pitchers. I fall into that trap, over the last couple of weeks a lot of just being like, wow, my two top guys, together, what percentage of lineups have both those guys? And we've seen these Angels kind of pop off. So, no, I'm in total agreement. I'm willing to play 1 through 7 even in this lineup. I'm waiting for lineups to come out. Even though Hoppy's kind of, they have him kind of batting farther down in the order, but he's starting to heat up a little bit. I like it. They are going to garner some ownership, it seems like, not anything crazy, but people will be on it because you play a little Drury at a multi-positional spot at 2,600. I think he's firmly in play. So I agree with you. And then as far as the other side goes for the White Sox, I just rather play this what are we calling him? Jack K. I'd rather play this Jack Guy K instead. Just because, they're so bad. So, last week I saw a little meme that talked about how, like, before the last series that the White Sox, the Angels, they both play like 6 or 8 games, whatever, against each other. And they're playing for the franchise most losses for the Angels ever. And then the White Sox obviously setting the record. So this is the definition of like, the nut low. So it reminds me of like one of those games, I was a basketball player, so AAU games, you go to these tournaments in Vegas and Phoenix and stuff like that. And, sometimes you aren't on very good teams, you kind of look up, it's like, damn, dude, we really have a Sunday morning, 8 a.m. game, right? This is exactly that. This is no sleeping in. You guys are the worst team in the tournament. You guys got to go duke it out for an ugly game. So love the Angels. Don't want to touch the White Sox, but yeah, the Angels
That's
are just
got to
too
be
cheap.
Torture to be on the White Sox, just knowing every day you're going to go out there and pretty much lose. But, as I mentioned, though, I think with Gannon, as I mentioned, his fly ball rate is 24 or 25%. So that's 5 percentage point a little lower than what, we like to see above 30. So he's not so much of a fly ball. So I'm just looking at some fly ball percentages. Ward, 39.6, Zetto, 28, Chenul, who's been smashing the shit. His OPS 960 in the last 15 days. He's actually their hottest hitter. Drury's pretty low at 18, but Kavadas 51%, probably not really much there. Wagman 30%, Moniak 29%. I mean, you got a lot of guys around that 30% range that are hitting fly balls. So, I don't mind it. It's just them names are ugly, but yeah, I think it's interesting. I think the Angels could be the way to the money here tonight. I mean, they get that 9th inning at bat against the worst damn team in baseball, the 9th inning. And as I've been saying, if the White Sox score the first 2 runs in the game, get your ass on that app. Bet on them, live bet on them Angels. It's like stealing, dude. All year, it's like every time I see the White Sox winning by 1 or 2 runs in the first or second, third inning, it's like, oh, really? All right, this is cool. Even if they get up 3, it's like, it's just funny to me because they still got to blow it. I mean, they only got 36 wins. They've been blowing them all damn year.
Yeah, so, that was Padres on Sunday. They were down a run and they're minus 144 on the live app. And you're like, damn, dude, that's pretty unbelievable. But anyways, you threw up that Angels lineup. It's out. No Drury. Pilar's going to be batting cleanup at 4K, which definitely changes, the price tag of the stack. But I'm willing to go 1 through 7 here with this adjusted lineup. Love me some Moniak down at the bottom with a sneaky Hoppy call. So Pilar kind of throws some things off at 4K on DraftKings, but still willing to go to it.
Yeah, that Wagaman guy, he was my buddy there for a while. 2K hitting bombs. I didn't mind him. He helped me out a few times for sure. But yeah, obviously worst team in baseball. I definitely think the Angels, if somebody can stack up, as I mentioned, it's just tough to click them shitty names. And man, can we get Mike Trout some help or somebody get Mike Trout out of LA? I mean, come on, man. That's just absolutely terrible. He's got to play with guys like that.
He'll go down. He'll go down as probably, for me, as of right now, before anybody else, just the best athlete in any sport that I've seen in the worst situation. I mean, yeah, you can handpick some of these like receivers in football or basketball players on bad NBA teams, but see, those guys still get to show out. If you're a bad player on a bad NBA team, you can go out and drop 45. You used to have a good time, kind of ball out. Football, seemingly all those guys end up going to good teams later in careers, but I don't get the Trout thing. I just don't. I don't know if it's like, hey, he's good in LA, just hanging out and being a stud. I mean, he does get hurt all the time, so maybe that's part of it. He knows that, he gets to take half the season off, but that'll go down as my number one question mark. I guess, okay, Barry Sanders.
We'll give you that, Pojo. I'm from Detroit too, and it's him being right
before
here,
my time,
over my shoulder. I mean, go watch that Barry Sanders thing there. I mean, he literally said it at the end when they got rid of his offensive linemen, were his buddies Glover and a couple guys there just to save money, and they weren't drafting anybody. He was like, "I'm out of here, man. This shit's some bullshit." His kids literally like at the end, like, if you were winning Super Bowls, would you kept playing, Dad? And he was literally like, "Yeah, pretty much, probably would have kept playing." But yeah, when he retired, that was about as kicking in balls as when Chris Webber went to the NBA and the Fab Five ended for me. I mean, that's way before your time too, BJ.
No, I know about them.
Yeah,
that's
like the Fab Five. I mean, that was quite the thing going on when that was like right when I was getting out of high school way back in 1990. But either way, we got the big go. Actually, we can't skip over Seattle and Houston. I think both these games, both decent pitchers. I don't know about you. I don't really have any interest in any of these bats on either side, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm happy to skip this game and just take the bats completely out of play. Respect both sides. I think they're kind of big spots for both guys. And yeah, so I would agree completely.
Yeah, we'll just we'll just skip right over because we got the good one right after that. Seattle or St. Louis here going into Coors. Now, we've said it how many times on this show, like, because they start series is on the Tuesdays a lot of time. So it's like first day in Coors, what do we usually get? So, I think it's going to be the chalkier spot here today. So, just kind of look in here. We got McGreevy here against Feltner. I think Feltner is a little bit interesting here today. I think the Colorado bats are interesting here. Low strikeout rate for McGreevy. I don't know. I just think you could get beat up here. So, looking at a game here, I'm going to stay away from this game. I'm going to let everybody else play this game. I got some other spots I'm going to be looking at. Hopefully, maybe this one's another dud like it always seems to be in the first game of the series. But I'm going to leave it alone. But, hey, Rockies, both these teams are probably top 5 stacks. It's just whether you want to fade this game or not. I think I'm going to be more inclined to fade it just because I think there's going to be quite a bit of ownership.
Yeah, the DK specifically, like I said, I haven't looked at FanDuel. These Cardinal prices, they're $1,000 cheaper, $700 cheaper than most other teams going in there. This has been a team that has been kind of sneaky and we've been targeting, but I think like what you said, with the prices being so cheap and the ownership being so high and Feltner being in a decent spot, not great, not good, but kind of meh spot. I'm good with 20-30% of the field taking, at least a few of these pieces from the lineup and taking them out. I can't get behind the Rockies side near as close as the Cardinals side. I think, we haven't seen a big sample, obviously, but this McGreevy guy, in his first couple of outings, has a huge ground ball rate and kind of stealing one out of your book here where it's kind of like, I don't want to attack that. So for me, if the slate started now, gun to my head, you're making 5 lineups, you have to win first place. I'm not picking anybody from these games, but ultimately, with the prices, they can certainly be fillers in most of your lineups, and I'm sure I'll do a good amount of that. Just kind of trying to one-off a bat. I know we've talked about that, on a couple of shows this season. You don't really want to get in the habit of that, but just to look at, let's take an Arenado at sub 5K or a Donovan at 4,500 or a Nootbaar at 4,100. These are guys that, can definitely score. And at that price tag, it might be a little bit scary to fade, obviously. But so I'll get a little exposure kind of mixing in, mixing out. Not really going to touch Rockies because that's everybody's play on a busy slate with a lot of ownership is to go the opposite side. But I think I'm kind of staying away from everything for the majority of full stacks.
Yeah, Donovan's been hitting well. He's the hottest Cardinal, 15th in OPS in the last 2 weeks. So he's been hitting the ball a little bit, but like I said, I'm just going to fade this one. Like we mentioned, usually the first game's a dud. I don't really like attacking ground ball pitchers. And if I do, I got to play guys I know are going to hit fly balls that are high fly balling. Like, guy that always stands in my head is Will Smith, like on the Dodgers. He's a guy I don't mind playing. He's 40% fly ball hitter. So it's like, that's the kind of guys you want. It makes sense. Ground ball pitcher, you got a ground ball hitter. What the hell do you think you're going to get? You're going to get a ground ball. So, I just, baseball is kind of easy. You just kind of stick with some of the numbers. There's been a few times. What call? I called Kike. We could dance on that one. When the last show, I called Kike hit a homer and Will Smith, and Kike hits a homer. And I think one of our guys, Stevens, I was up part, it was like, I think it was RJ Stevens. Someone was Stevens in his name. But either way, he's hitting me up on Discord like, dude, how the hell did you call that? I'm like, dude, their fly ball rates are both high. I literally said that on the show. Like, that's what I pay attention to. Like, you all know I've been doing this all season. I stick to the same shit. So, you just listen long enough. You'll pick it up too. It's kind of simple for me. I just stay in my lane. I know what I'm looking at. I don't like going after ground ball pitchers, full stacks. It's not going to win. So I stay away. But I do, like you said there about McKeevy. I'm just going to fade this whole one. There's plenty of reasons why to fade this game sitting at a 10.5. And it just seems like every damn Coors game's 10 or 10.5. It doesn't matter who's going in there, who's playing. It's 10 or it's 10.5. If it's a really good team, it gets up to 11 or 12. So to me, it's just like the default over-under over there in Coors. If I could look it up super fast, I'd like to see what the over-unders total is. It's probably more unders, actually. But either way, I'm going to stay away from it. We got Texas and Oakland, too, 9:40 start now. We got 3 games here in the late coast out here, Texas. We got Eovaldi against Spence. I think both pitchers are good enough for me to just kind of stay away. Over-under on this game, 7.5, bottom 3 totals of the game. I'm just going to leave it. Maybe you can talk me into somebody, but, man, I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah, I respect Eovaldi a little bit too much for this A's side. Like I said, he's ranking, top 4 pitchers for me on the slate, or at least in the upper range. But I will note in lineups where you're not playing, JJ Bleday at 3,600 has been hitting the ball well. Butler's obviously been on fire. Like we've talked about it for, it feels like months now. But his price is creeping up a little bit, where it's kind of like you feel a little bit weird playing him at 4,500 against a good pitcher. But for me, if I'm making 10 lineups tonight and I have, end up building them and I find myself a little bit too exposed to Eovaldi, I don't mind a little sneaky A stack, just, kind of the first four batters, if you will. Just because when you mix in price and the ability for them to score, I think Rooker and Bleday's salaries kind of, even each other out. So I don't mind it. Obviously not highlighting it or getting to it just because I respect Eovaldi, but they're always in play, it feels like. You see in the Discord, we're always talking A's. So they might be on the list of somebody sneaky. As far as the Texas size goes, though, like, no thanks. Like I said, one of my value guys that I'm surprised isn't getting any love is Spence. I know he doesn't have the most impressive strikeout rate, but he's got some pretty decent control with a high ground ball rate. And like you just alluded to last game, not really interested with this powerless lineup.
Yeah, I think the Oakland, the left side kind of would be where I'd want to look if you wanted to look at anything in this game here. Eovaldi, ground ball pitcher, both sides, 56% to righties, only 41% to lefty. So 15% difference. Fly ball rate, 8% difference from lefty to righty. Of course, lefty being the highest. So want to look at some lefties. Butler, obviously was hot as hell there for a while. Bleday, as you mentioned, like that. Don't mind throwing in, rookie and the Langoliers, who obviously we've used here recent times that have done pretty well for us. So, yeah, I just don't like the park, right? Oakland's not a park we really like. You hit a foul ball, and it's like you got a football field before you even get to the damn stands.
I feel like every year that gets farther and farther away too. Right. It's like, man,
if I had to play third base over there, I'd be like, "Are you kidding me, dude? I gotta run all the way
You're
over
playing
there."
center field,
right? Like, man, that's just got to be terrible. But it'd be terrible is listening to them. What do they call them? Things the noise makers they have over there. Those when they're in the playoffs.
Yeah. It's like what they used to use at soccer stadiums.
Yeah, that would drive me insane, man. I can't do that. I had to turn it down on the TV, like, and that one World Cup that one year. That's all you heard. It sounded like a bunch of damn bees were coming through the TV. It's like I can't. I'm gonna wake up middle of the night, think I'm getting stung and shit. Like like I can't.
Didn't they try and ban those after a couple of matches that year too? Yeah,
I think they did try to ban them.
Yeah.
But
last note here too, and I just just because I thought about it, I was watching a little bit of an A's game a couple of weeks ago. It was maybe a week ago, it is the most depressing stadium to watch a game just on TV. I don't know. It's the lighting and what's around it, but it's just kind of like you turn it on and you feel like, oh, dude, I'd rather like watch the news than this. Like, what is going on? So, yeah, I mean, no thanks for me. But if you're getting sneaky, let's get some A's bats in there.
I agree, Jake, but I'm not allowed to say that stuff. I get in trouble. Especially when my wife's around. I was on the plane and some guy had a MAGA hat on. He's an older guy and he was a crowd. And I looked at him, I gave him the, and he gave me the back. And I was kind of
that's classic. This shooter.
Yeah, he gave me the Trump thing back. I was kind of giggling. And there was a guy next to me, black guy. He started saying, how he's going to be Republican the first time and he's getting shit from his family. And he's like, dude, just wake up, look around you. I was like, I know, bro. I know. You don't got to explain it to me. I've been Democrat. I live in Michigan. We all voted Democrat. I mean, I'm 52. That's the way I voted most times. But nah, you ain't going to keep insulting my intelligence and get me to vote for you. That's just not going to happen. So either way, but we got San Fran and Arizona here. I think this one's interesting. Really, Arizona, man, they've been smacking the shit out of the baseball the last few months. One of the hotter teams in all of baseball. We got Logan Webb. I mean, not anybody I really want to attack here, but we got a game total sitting at 8.5. It's the second highest other than what we have. Paft, as we mentioned, it's like flipping a coin with this cat. Is he going to be great or is he going to suck? So he sucked a lot of times. I think he's going to get some ownership. I mean, this one here is almost like a Robbie Ray kind of situation. He's either going to do really great. He's going to win you the GPP because he pitched really well, or you stack against him because everybody else is on him 15, 20%, and he gives up 8 runs, and you literally, do the old teeter-totter here. I think that's a pretty good spot, more so on DK than FanDuel just because of where his price fits. I think he's going to get more ownership on there. But, man, you're literally could be playing, the Giants. They do have a little bit of power. They do strike out against righties quite a bit. But, man, I can't argue with you. If you're playing 5 teams, I might sneak me in. A Giant stack, just saying.
I would agree. I would say, tonight I might load up 10 and I might have 2 of these. I might go 2 and 2 and kind of equal both sides, kind of get almost as much ownership as Paft, but double, triple the field on the Giant side. I know they're implied totals there, but like you said, we're literally flipping a coin, and one game he goes 10, 11, 12 strikeouts, in 3 games, the next game, 8 runs, 4 runs. And it sounds so kind of minimal to not much breakdown there. But I mean, Giants scored some runs last couple days, they're kind of out of it. They're just kind of playing some baseball and they're cheap. So why not let it rock in a nice little game environment with a nice total?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind. Like we mentioned, I mean, you'll get a little bit of leverage there. That's for sure. I mean, just looking at his numbers, that being Paft, I mean, 19% strikeout to lefties, 28% to righties. So, I mean, just looking at some of these lefties, Yastrzemski hit a leadoff bomb the other day. You got Wade, you got Conforto, who I don't mind playing. So, I mean, you got 3 out of the top 5 batter, even 6 with Bailey sitting there in the 6 hole goes left. I mean, he's going to see quite a few lefties here too. So, man, I mean, it's ugly. It's ugly on paper. It's almost as bad as clicking on them damn Angels. But, I mean, hey, you're going to get some leverage. So I don't mind it. I don't even want to call him my sneaky stack. That'd probably be, I mean, that might be my overthinking sneaky stack. But you know what? I see it. I can see the path of how that would win. We talked about path being bad. So, I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea. If I had a few teams, definitely would be in consideration. That's for sure.
Love it.
But,
couldn't agree more. Do you have anybody for this Diamondback side?
Anybody that really stands out for me?
Yeah, because nobody, I'm not stacking, I'm not touching. But prices are too high. I know they've been hot, but Webb's peripherals.
I like Marte. He's been hitting really well. He's like 13 out of 42 with 5 bombs in the last 2 weeks. He's been hitting really well. Just Arizona as a whole, as a team, the last 2 weeks, they're third in OPS, 859. I mean, they've been in the top 2 or 3 for the last 2 months. So they've been smashing the ball a little bit. Obviously, we know they got Walker back, and I just think, it's a good spot. I like the Arizona side probably a little better, obviously, than San Fran. It's just because of the leverage you're getting with San Fran. But yeah, I don't mind it. Arizona's they're just been hitting the ball. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the reasoning you decided to stack a team is because they're one of the hottest teams in baseball. Baseball is a streaky sport. I mean, so, hey, I don't mind it at all. I mean, shit, that's not a bad thing. But we do have one more game left. Your boys got, as you mentioned, playoff matchup type baseball here going on against the Dodgers. We got Michael King against Landon Knack, who, I mean, hasn't been really doing shit lately. Guys been getting beat up a little bit. I think Fernando Tatis might be one of my favorite bats on the whole slate today, to be honest with you. So he's probably my favorite one-off on the whole slate. That Dodger bullpen is not that good either. So, I don't mind this Padre lineup here. I think it's interesting. I think Fernando Tatis for me is the guy that I'm definitely want to be looking at here today. But I think the Padres could be definitely in play. I know you said earlier, I'm not too sure, but I think I'm willing to put the Padres kind of where the Yankees are for me, like maybe 3 to 5 top stack. I'm trying to figure out after the Coors, which I don't want to play. So then we got Minnesota. I'm sitting here thinking, man, maybe this Padres team might be in there against this Knack. And, I like me some Fernando Tatis. So I don't know. I think it's interesting.
Yeah, we tried to attack, I don't know if it was last Wednesday, I believe, because I remember we drove down to LA when he pitched against the Marlins. And, I was kind of on those sneaky Marlins just because the fly ball rate was up. Like he said, over his last 56 batters as a total, he's giving up 44% fly ball rate with just a 26% ground ball rate. Strikeout rates have been better, but I think that dramatically changes when you face the Marlins and they can't hit the ball. But I mean, this is I love the Tatis call. I love the Manny call. I mean, Profar's just been hitting great. This will be a stack of mine and a huge game for him. I know like we've talked about, there's a handful of stuff, but there's 6 games left or 3 games back in the division. If we can get this win, it'd be huge for us. And I'm not scared of anybody, 1, this starter, and 2, anybody in that bullpen. So Padres even money favorite as well kind of makes me think that this is a much better spot, in Vegas's eyes than just our eyes.
Yeah, I think, that Dodger bullpen's definitely something that you could attack. I mean, they're, like middle of the road. I mean, they're not nothing, terrible. Like we always talk about, like the White Sox in Colorado, Toronto, Texas, Pittsburgh. Those are all the worst bullpens. But yeah, I think you're sitting here looking at, the Padres. For me, as we mentioned, it's a game that means something. That's what I want. Definitely a game that means something. So, I think it's in play. If I'm calling a home run, it's Fernando Tatis today. That's my man. Fernando going to hit the home run today. That will be my HR call of the day. But the Dodgers now, I can't really say I'm really interested. I do respect King, so I think I'm going to leave that alone. But for me, let's roll out here some Padres. I think Padres might be one that I'm more I think about it, the more I'm going to look into it. As I mentioned, Tatis, I mean, he's hitting 6. He's 1.163 in OPS. He's 16 out of his last 47 with 6 bombs. Profar's been hitting really well. He's at 1098 OPS. He's sitting there at 11th in all MLB in the last 2 weeks. So I got a couple guys there that are hitting the ball well for San Diego. So, hey, I think definitely Padres for me going to be in my top stacks.
How crazy. I want to touch on 2 things really quick because I would agree Padres, yes. I'm not really getting these Dodgers just because of price, and I think it's a huge game for King. But 7,500 on DraftKings for Ohtani. Unbelievable. I know he's just the stud, maybe best player ever. Everybody's going to talk their own way based off who they like. But and I think he's really trying for 60-60. You brought it up a couple weeks ago on the show. And now that we're getting closer, you start to do the math. He's got 3 games in Coors after this. So as much as I want a Padres win, I want to get this stack right. Maybe they go up 5-6 nothing. Ohtani gets a garbage time bomb in a bag. I'm okay with that. I want to see it. I think 60-60 is crazy. And I wanted him to go 60-60 even more once Jose Canseco's on Twitter freaking talking like, oh, I set the stage for you and I went 40-40 and I made it happen. Shut the hell up. I want Ohtani to go 60-60.
I will say, to be fair, as a baseball traditionalist, that A, Ohtani's bases are bigger. B, they can't throw over to the bag anymore and hold you on. C, pitchers now that come in on the bullpen got to have 3. You got to see 3 batters. So there's a lot of rule changes, I think, coming in effect. The bigger bags, that definitely made a huge difference. So I think people kind of forget about that. Now, I'm not taking away from what Ohtani did, but I'm just saying it ain't the same, like comparison because, back then it was a little different. I don't know if Jose had it easier or not. I mean, we could discuss that too, I guess. But, I mean, Jose Canseco, when he was doing that, everybody was saying he was one of the greatest players ever when he was hitting the 40-40. They were thinking that, like, his USA team baseball card was, like, the hottest thing to get. Like, in that Don Russ card, like, his rookie year, everybody wanted a piece of that. But, no, he didn't really end up. He ended up being a douchebag later. I mean, Ohtani could have a couple great seasons. He fades off. They won't bring him up. I mean, they'll talk about his 1 year or two, but Ohtani's got to do it for a good decade before I'm even going to consider him to be up there. Now he's done it a few years. I'll give him that. He's exciting to watch. I think his translator should basically be the MVP of the league because I damn well know he had something to do with that shit and got away with it. And you can't tell me otherwise because nobody that damn stupid to lose that much money. And then we never heard, did he get his money back? Of course he didn't, because if somebody stole money out of your account, you always get it back unless you know about it. So don't give me that shit. He didn't get it back. He knew about it. End of story. So either way, but I do say that it does have a couple little things that I just wanted to note there about the thing. And Babe Ruth, Ohtani, I don't know about that one either because Babe Ruth, I mean, he was playing with a bunch of drunks. They were running around. It was nothing like it is now. I even wonder if, these times some of those guys would even be able to play Major League Baseball with the way some of the things have been happening. I mean, you can't discount some of these players. I mean, I think some of them could have played in the past, but I don't even know, like you look back in the 70s, could these guys even have played in the NBA that were in the 70s to today's NBA? It's like, hell, it's way different. Like NFL, I see some of these old Steeler teams. I'm like, that dude's a fat fuck. Like today, like somebody run that dude over. Like they're so fast and everything's so much different than it used to be. So it's just like I don't like comparing crap like that. Like it's just not the same. But what Ohtani's doing is definitely special. If he starts to become a pitching prospect as he should be, man, yes, he's in line to be one of the greatest players ever. I'm not discounting what he did, but there are still things we still need to remember now. Bases are almost twice the size they used to be. So
I know, I love it. And to finish, we gotta let Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. So let we're over here.
Like to me, that's the worst. If I'm Pete Rose and there's a plaque on the wall after I'm dead that says I was a douchebag and bet on baseball, that's the way it should be. Why are you letting him off the hook? You're not telling his story. Tell the story if he bet on baseball, and it should be up on a wall. Tell the story. Don't let him beg out of the story. Fucking tell the story. He was a dick. He bet on baseball. He cheated the game. If that's what y'all want to believe, I mean, to me, don't leave him out. That's letting him off the hook easy. He deserves to be in there, but you should say he was a douchebag. That's what he should say. So
yeah, I love it. I love
it. In the Hall of Fame. I got an autographed baseball with him. I know everybody in America has an autographed baseball from him because I think he was selling his autograph to anybody that would buy one. But yeah, I mean, Pete Rose, one of the best players. You want to talk about intensity? That guy was something else. But yeah, definitely one of the better players that should be in the Hall of Fame. Like Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame. Clement, all them dudes should be in the Hall of Fame. Hands down, that was the way it was. You allowed it to happen. They were literally promoting Sosa and McGuire that whole time. What do they call it? Creatine or whatever at the time they were talking about. Well, that's just another word for steroids, and they were allowing it. And then all of a sudden, when the media got, that's bad stuff. That bunch of crap.
And you let that, and not to go too deep because we got to finish, but now you get, with Mike Trout, if you guys don't know, go look it up. He has some medical, specialization illness where he's able to take HGH and kind of tinfoil hat and all that stuff. But go look into that for a little bit. It's just crazy who they kind of bend the rules for who they want to. And anyways, crazy stuff, man. But hey, that's the world, huh?
That is the crazy world we live in. Except for your P. Diddy, you be fun.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. I can't wait for that.
There's a lot of nervous folk around here in this world too. Like, you've been to a P. Diddy party? I hope not. No, I've never been. Like,
LeBron's the biggest attendee. It sounds
hopefully
like
P. Diddy wasn't on that freaking, on that guest list, because you could, if you were, and you were even like LeBron James, you best be scared, my friend. LeBron best
He's
be
been
scared.
on there a lot. Every time I look at it, he's sitting there talking, ain't no party like a Diddy party. And you're like, whoa, this is a bad look. How did you not get that scrape, man?
I'm just going to sit back and get me some popcorn and watch the show. Okay. Nothing I can handle. If they all going down, they deserve it. That's the way it is. We're a better world than this. We deserve better than that. But with that being said, let's win us some money and some baseball tonight. Give me your top 3 stacks. I'll give you my top 3, and we'll get ready. I got to make that slate plan over there for us over there at SHIPIT. So let's give me your top 3 stacks.
After going through it all and kind of taking it all in for a second time, I think I'm going off and away. Let's go Yankees. Let's roll it. I think Soto and Wells both hit a bomb attacking those lefties. Angels and Twins are going to be in there for me, honestly, with the Padres. So really, I gave you 4 there, but kind of the last 3 for me are all kind of in the mix. Twins might be notched down just because, like what you said, we have a lot of pinch hit risk. But I think 2 through 5, regardless of ownership, with price, I think that they're their mix, and Angels and Padres.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go. Like I said, I'll go Twins 1. I'm going to leave the Coors out, even though they both deserve, they should be up there. Yeah, but then I think I'm going to go Padres and Yankees right after that too. So Twins, Padres, Yankees. Maybe some Angels you want to get, maybe 2 or 3 lineups. I don't think that's a bad idea either. But, yeah, definitely got to be fading that Coors game here tonight. But, hey, if it beats us, we'll bitch about it tomorrow on tomorrow's show. But, hey, that's going to do it for today. We appreciate you all sitting here with us that hour and 15 minutes. Hit that like button for me on the way out. So, when we're back behind the scenes comparing shows, I tell them all, everybody likes my shows because I bullshit with them all. So, we just like to have fun, talk some baseball, have some fun. That's what we like to do. And, hey, by the way, I think they want me to go on Tommy G's show over there with them 4D boys here on Saturday nights and Friday nights, talk a little roundtable with the SHIPIT crew. So, oh my gosh, you're going to get me with Tommy. I've known him a long time. That's probably not going to be, that's going to be something else, especially if I got a buzz rolling. Look out. So it should be a lot of fun.
Well, you have to on that show, right? You have to. Come on. Yeah, I can't wait to tune into that one.
I was in Arizona and they called me like the day of. I'm like, dude, I'm already half in the bag. I'm drinking since it was like 9 a.m. Arizona time because I was watching Michigan. But, it's like, fuck, I can't do that today. I just couldn't do it. But either way, appreciate you guys all joining us. I'm going to get over there, do that slate plan and SHIPIT. We'll be back here tomorrow at 3 o'clock, a little early. Sorry, I got a bowl. But either way, appreciate you guys joining us. Hit that like button on the way out, and let's SHIPIT.